Could be worse. He could have not scored at all. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here. Fun fact, doing too. Have it on me and keep it on me at all times. Another fun fact. Here we are to. You thought I forgot. You thought I would forget. You know what time it is. It is peak rock time. Peak every week. I did forget, but I remembered as I went and laid it down. But you know I got a pre-draw for Peak Lock Peak every week. And we are here for chapter 339, Worst Possible Situation. And I don't know. I'm really not. I feel like it could be worse. Unironically, it could be worse because while they did, end down in the first half, for how many others thought me. Wait, that's not the English phrase would go at all. Myself and many others thought that the game would be going a whole lot worse. I thought France would be infinitely more dominant. Now, admittedly, I, like many others, have been huffing. I mean, when I mean huffing, I'm talking we got gallons, buckets, darn oceans worth of this stuff. We've been huffing mad copium on Loki. Being like, Loki didn't even bother to score once. It really feels like he's just sitting back and playing bait, essentially, allowing the team to focus on him. Meanwhile, Charles and Hugo are the only two to have actually scored. Neither of them being the striker for their respective team, both being midfielders. So it did feel a little bit weird on that end. So me and many others are hoping and coping that Loki is just sandbagging massively. Because it doesn't really feel right for Loki to be cliffed this early. And I don't even think he's cliffed. I just don't think he's really doing anything because he doesn't really need to. But that cope aside, I almost made the same phrasing mistake again. Myself and many others thought this game would be a lot more lopsided. Not as lopsided as, well, actually, almost as lopsided. In fact, you can fact check me on that. I legitimately thought it was going to be as lopsided as Nigeria. Maybe France was going to end 2 or 3 up at the end of the third, and then France was going to have nothing. I really thought it was going to be a run back. But no. It's 2-1. Now, of course, the only goal Blue Lock scored was a goal not born of Blue Lock, rather born of Hugo. And I suppose, technically, France's philosophy, and that actually brings up a very interesting point that I do want to highlight. Someone cooked my goose. They tickled my toes. They wiggled my fingers, and they tugged at my left big toe. Because someone pointed out a fantastically apt hole in my big, bad, meaty, juicy argument against Suitable Destiny and Hugo. Because a big thing I kept saying, review after review after review, was, hey, it'd be like that when it'd be like that sometimes. Hugo can talk all that talk, but not even Loki himself respects Hugo enough. A fellow new Gen 111 member isn't enough to have Loki get pushed to be that monster, that beast, that creature that he is. He went and got a random named Charles, who's of course extremely talented and a monster and a beast and a creature in his own right, but that aside. But two things were pointed out. Number one, and to be fair, I'd heard this argument, but I didn't just give it as much credit as I should have. And admittedly, now there are three. There are three because of last chapter and what that establishes. I'm sorry, don't worry, I'm going to get into the review in a second. But three things. The one that I had heard before, but I didn't really take into account because I didn't really care, which was bad on my end. I should have taken more account because, I just don't know soccer like that. It was the idea that, well, maybe Hugo and Loki just don't play for the same teams in terms of, the club level stuff, right? Ultimately, Loki wants to be the best striker in the world, and Hugo wants to create the best team ever, but bada bing, bada boom, they could just be on separate teams, right? Maybe the same team that drafts Loki just doesn't want to draft Hugo. Entirely possible. And then the second point to that's actually from last chapter is Hugo's specific goal being the idea of winning the World Cup 4 times. That's only a national team thing. There is no club requirement for that. So he doesn't need to be there for Loki in the same way that Charles may need to be there for Loki all the time, because he just needs them to be at their best for mainstream, for the World Cup. He needs them, presumably, every 4 years, right? Because how often is World Cup held? It is every 4 years. That's why people were pointing out how insane it would be for Hugo to actually do that. I didn't, it didn't even hit me for what that would mean. How often is the World Cup held? I think it's 4 years. How often is the World Cup held? Yeah, the World Cup, both men and women, is held every 4 years. It's quadrennial. So the reason it was so insane and why Isagi immediately folded, I don't know why, I know why, because I don't know ball. But since I don't know ball, I didn't really think about how long that would be. So for Hugo to win every single World Cup, and presumably this is assuming that he's talking real World Cups, right? I believe Pele won 3 actual World Cups. Pele World Cup victory. Let me double check. Victories. Pele is the only player in history to win 3 FIFA World Cups. Yeah, they seem to be World Cups. Oh wait, at 17-year-old, 1958, he became the youngest World Cup winner ever. Okay, youngest world at age 17. Youngest player to score a final netting goals in tournament. Okay, so he was 17, but I don't think he was playing. Did Pele's first World Cup come in U20 or adult division? U20. He's 17 then. U20 or adult. His World Cup was in the adult tournament where he made his debut at 17 years old. So yeah, so he was playing in the main World Cup. The issue is for Hugo right now, he's not in the real World Cup team. He's not playing for them. At least as far as we know. Who knows? We don't know. But for the U20 World Cup, technically this one wouldn't even count, right? So presumably if he's locked into this one, I'm not sure if that can be a thing. Like, can he play in the U20 World Cup? And I can just Google that. I'm sorry, I'm going so deep into a rabbit hole all to prove one singular point and how someone blew my brain open by a very obvious leap that I should have made. Can someone play for both U20 and adult World Cups? Let me see. Yes, players can be in both the U20 World Cup and the Senior FIFA World Cup. It's common for young talent to represent their country at the U20 level or even during their time as a senior national team. Okay, so it actually is possible. So if you was on the main World Cup team, then maybe it's possible, assuming he's like 18, 19, or even 17 like Pele was. But he would have to do that for 16 years, right? He wouldn't just need to win this first one, presumably in the main one. He'd also need to wait another 4 years, and then another 4 years, and then another 4 years, and then another 4 years. Now, let's say Hugo, let's lowball Hugo's age a lot. Let's just say he's 16. 32 is not the worst age. Heck, how old is Messi? Messi age 38. So it's not impossible. But it's just very unlikely considering how much time has to pass. That's why winning 4 World Cups is such an insane ideology. And that's assuming Hugo is 16. That's also assuming Hugo wins this World Cup after he would presumably win the U20 World Cup. So there's a whole lot going into Hugo's dream. But all that aside, that's just for point number 2. Point number 3, it is entirely possible that Hugo is the one that recommended Charles to Loki. Hugo may have been like, Loki, you're not reaching your full potential, dog. Here's this guy I know. Charles, have him play with you. He'll make you better. It's that, especially with the idea that Hugo specifically in Last Year brings up the idea of, oh, this will make you more well-liked, this will make you more successful, this will make you better. Like, he's known to do that. What did Loki do? He found a random. And while we don't know enough about Loki to assume that maybe he just went and found Charles on his own, it is entirely likely that Hugo, Mr. Oh yeah, I matchmake, I know these things, I will do what I can do to make the best team for myself, to facilitate myself, winning 4 World Cup. Like, he may have legit found Charles for Loki. And that's such a likely thing based on Hugo's character that kind of fries my whole idea that Loki doesn't even rock with Hugo like that. He could. Now, of course, it is just conjecture, but it was also conjecture on my end to assume that Loki didn't even rock with Hugo. There's no proof of that, other than the idea that Charles exists. But Charles' existence could actually feed both sides. So there's that. But actually, hopping into the chapter itself, because it's been like 9 minutes, I haven't had the chapter itself. Hopping into it, let's see. U20 World Cup, Match 3, Japan versus France, first half over. We got Rayo, we got Aiku, we got Karasu, we got Gakamaru. Poor Gakamaru, man. And then we got Isagi Yoshida. Halftime, Blue Lock Japan locker room. All right, we're starting with Haiku. I can see why France is number 1 in the world. That Hugo guy is nuts. You know what's so crazy? Like, obviously, I'm guessing they do know that Hugo is a New Gen 111 member. Right? Like, they gotta know, right? Like, well, you know they watch something. They watch some ball. They have some ball knowledge. So, with that being the case, it truly is the idea that the biggest problem that they're identifying now is Loki, and it is Hugo, and it's not even Loki. like Loki, he's been there. He's obviously been an active threat. It's kind of like, for anyone who plays chess, I feel like I always go to fighting game. Let me go to a more common game. If anyone who plays chess, it's kind of like knowing your opponent's queen is on the board. Like, it's there. And it's always going to be a problem. And you always have to account for where it is. But they're also actually really, really cracked with their rook. It's like they got their rook out early and it's doing crazy numbers to you. So you have to focus on that. But at the same time, you can't just move in accordance to the rook because the queen's halfway across the board. And it can just cross and wipe out an important piece in that same instant. That's basically what Loki is. Loki is the queen, Hugo is the rook, and Charles is bishop, or Knight. Take your pick. They're both 3-point pieces. I'd say, Charles fits the Knight more, if only for the fact that he's unorthodox in how he moves. And he is still technically limited in what he can do, in comparison to the Bishop just, in one direction. So, that being the case, man, yeah, it's insane that France is kind of hand and blue out. Well, not hand and blue out their cheek. Like I said, the game's closer than it is. It's not the worst possible situation. But it doesn't seem like Loki's doing all that much just yet. But I may just be hoping and coping. Maybe Loki, maybe he's not that much of a guy. No, I can't even say that. I can't even say Loki's nowhere near as much as a guy as we thought. He's just been chilling. Let's see. They're only ahead by 1, though. If we fix our strategy in the second half, we can still win. Yo. I mean, like, he's way smaller than me in terms of, like, just size and height. But, man, I need a build like Patra, bro. Look at the abs on that guy. Let's see. But you know what? Patra just like me for real. They are only ahead by 1. Just lock in, twin, and y'all could clutch up. Let's see. But how do we do that? All of our attack patterns that start with Isagi are dead in the water. But what about the other ones? What about the other? Like, I know, to be fair, I know they built entirely around Isagi, but y'all gotta have other, like, you have to have other attack strats and attack plans and strategies, right? Like that is a thing that you just have to have. I mean, like, I know you build around your striker, but what about Rin? Y'all didn't build anything around Rin? Y'all didn't think this would happen? Let's see. All of our patterns that start with Isagi are dead in the water. It's interesting that Rayo's pointing that out, though, right? Because he, as one of the Metavision users and also presumably one of their top planners, is like, gang, I've ran every simulation. They kind of just fry us. Let's see. But we built the seam around Isagi. I mean, that's true. And, like, I feel like, notably, hold on, let me take a sip. A little dehydrated. While building around Isagi is, like, a good base metric to do, and I do think they only made the right choice by doing that, just because Isagi Uchi is still cracked, and he's an adaptability demon. The one thing I'll say is, you guys can still while out. In fact, funnily enough, for how much the team is built around Isagi, and we know this is a thing that's been a thing for a little bit, considering how much they released Isagi in the last match, Isagi didn't score until the extra minute, bro. Like, you can still do things on your own. While using Isagi, Isagi was unironically, unintentionally, I feel like, being used as bait throughout the entire Nigeria match. Just do the same thing you were doing against them, if you're going to stick with the same team comp. But we do know, based on last chapter, that Eagle's like, not around here, partner. Not right. And he's subbing in Shido and Moro. Well, that's it. And that's why we're failing. I don't know what it is. This face on Rail actually tickles my soul, bro. What is this? And that's why we're failing. No, we can make something work. Oh, I do love that, though. Batra has, like, endless faith in Isagi. And I get that. Like, notably, Isagi, even when down, has always been proven to be the guy to clutch up in those moments. But I get why now Rayo especially is like, dude, we had 45 minutes to try and make something shake, and nothing shook. Let's see. At this rate, we're just going to get our cheeks kicked in and lose. Well, to be fair, as long as well, I guess, though, that is unironically a non-egotist mindset on my end. I'm about to say, this match technically still don't really matter. You're in the group stage still, and as long as y'all do even half decent against France, you'll probably beat England. To be fair, France only beat England 2-1. So, like, and we know Loki was the one who scored both goals in that game. And he scored in, like, the last minute, because his goal was the one that finished all everything. So, we know England will still likely be another extreme diff match. But, like, y'all can do it. If you're doing this well against France, y'all can cook up against England. Don't sleep. Let's see. But I do like how even Isagi's like, I love you, Batra, but Rayo, he's low-key right, even if he's deep frying me right now, bro. Let's see. Chill out, guys. We can make a new patterns, like Iori's goal. I'll become this team's second best. It's heavy. Ooh, that brings it back. Hold on. I'll go into a little bit more, because I'm assuming. Yeah, I see Karaz's eyes widen down here, so I'll get into it in a second, because what a mini ASMR. Clarify something for you, Blake, because I completely misunderstood what they said. And I used them as a reference in the last review, but luckily enough, I peeped their comment sometime earlier, and I was like, I'm about to record the block review. Let me go look and respond to that comment to make sure I have a full understanding, because I read the first paragraph, and I initially saw that comment, and it was like, oop, made a mistake. So, I do have full context to that now. So, we'll get into that in a second. Let me see. I'll be this team's second best instead of Isagi. So, let's run with that strategy. I mean, technically, I don't know. Let's see. Ah, yeah. Big E, big go, slap. I can't Did I say Ego slapped his meat on the table? Can I really say Ego? Woo, 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 bam! Just you ever seen those like a saturated pool noodle, like when they're submerged in the water and then it just soaks it all up. It's just straight woo, 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 bam! Smacks the meat on the table. Let's see. Watch what you say, Tabito Kurasu. Are you trying to kill a blue lock? Interesting. Especially considering one of my big things with Ego is like, well, he doesn't necessarily believe in the idea of blue lock, or he doesn't want them to do things for blue lock in the idea of that sense. But maybe he means kill the idea of blue lock as in like their current team right now. And then you know what? Because I guess a big interesting thing, and I'm gonna let Ego cook a little bit before I get into one of many ASMR's comment. It's one of many ASMR. Right? I feel like I always say it wrong. I get the ASMR part right, but I feel like I always. Let me see. Yes, one of many ASMR. So I'll get into that in a second. I just want to see what Hugo has to say first, because I'm gonna compare it to what one of many ASMR said and their experience and how it correlates to the whole idea of suitable destiny versus egoism, and how ultimately their experience ended up leading to like a really good balance of both. And notably, their experience specifically ended up revolting against their coach, which is something that Tabito Karasu is clearly going through right now. So we'll get into it in a second. Let's see. Are you trying to kill Blue Lock? Once again, though, I do like the difference in reactions, right? Karasu doesn't seem overall too pressed. Meanwhile, Isagi seems genuinely intrigued. Like, he's clearly in a fugue state right here. But then just hearing that from Hugo, Ego is like, wait, was I not tweaking? Let's see. I applaud your quick-witted play. Ego's voice keeps changing. His voice is getting closer and closer to a character I cannot remember the name of. I know that voice is Rip, or like a reference to some other voice, but off the top of my dome piece right now, I can't remember what Hugo's current voice is based off of. I do like the sound effects of the clack of his shoes. Let's see. Knock that over. Let's see. I applaud your quick-witted play change, but the problem is your mindset. Partway through the first half, it looked like you'd given up on winning oh wait, no, English. Oh wait, Kiora, Raichi, don't know who that is. Zantetsu. Man, I thought you'd be on the field against Loki, dog. I was like, it looked like you'd given up on your own goals. What was that about? I thought that would be best for the team. And I thought I told you that those who fight for the team are worthless trash. Okay. Things getting fancy. Things getting spicy. Things getting a little bit filthy. So, I don't think you said all that. I think you told him just to not do that. But now I'm going to reference one of my ASMR's comments. So, originally, one of my ASMR explained. I thought they had gone down the egoism route entirely of like, oh, I'm just going to be the best version of myself, and that ended up me accidentally, or not accidentally, just like as a byproduct becoming number 2. No, from what one of my ASMR, and I'm going to come just to make sure I'm fully referencing this properly, which fairly said to clarify though, they chose to be number 2. That was still a conscious active choice, and that's the big thing I've been heavily against, and the thing that Ego is against clearly. The idea of actively choosing and locking in and sort of drilling in your brain, choosing to be number 2. But in the context of what one of the many ASMR says, they are facing more so the idea of balance, that fusion idea that Aiku ended up bringing up, try and act as the synthesis between egoism and suitable destiny. That idea of like, hey, let's just do our best at both. Where they intentionally ended up choosing to be second best, not necessarily because, because ultimately, one of ASMR agrees that Hugo is pretty incredible suitable destiny theory on a macro scale. But, notably, this is where the not knowing ball comes in. The archetype, the thief archetype that in soccer or football that one of ASMR's coach was trying to put them into just wasn't working for them. It wasn't functionally appropriate. And thusly, the suitable destiny part of my experience was I realized a few months in that path wasn't suitable for me. I was throwing my head against a brick wall. Now, I could keep doing it and hope my head was thick enough to break it down and approach. I take the other things like storytelling or voice work, but the time I spend throwing myself against the wall is time others are using to improve, so it's suboptimal. This is where I knew egotism was explained kicked in. I knew better than my coach. I knew, quote unquote, better than my coach, where I wasn't going to make progress on that path, so I looked for something outside their instructions to focus on and still help the team. And that's that idea right there. I focused on my panic kicks as I felt it was most suitable for me, as I liked doing it, and refined them over 3 years into my negate build. A trick my coach was consistently mad at as it was not a thief move, so suboptimal. What negates are is passes that be better, the coach said, not realizing I could negate like that because I gave up on passing. This was likely the strongest version of myself as a defenseman, but to get there, I had to let go of the shackle of expectations of aiming to be number one, of aiming to be a thief, as skills for both are different. Sprinter versus a marathon runner, there are some overlap. A good sprinter will be better in a marathon than an untrained person, but they train different skills. I had to choose to give up aiming for number one to set myself up to be the best version of myself, not because somebody else was goated, but the way of number one was unsuitable to me for aiming for it would only hold me back. There it is. And I'll finish reading the rest of this. I'm more at the end of the comment. I was aware of my path to number one and actively chose to reject it to become the number one version of me. Hopefully that's more clear. And that was more clear. That was it. So ultimately, in their idea of becoming number two, they still ended up becoming the greatest version of themselves. That is that synthesis balance idea. Do I fully agree with what they did? Kind of, sort of, because I don't know soccer. I don't know ball like that. Notably, even in my, I've already gone over my experience many and from a track and field perspective, and how ultimately my ambition to become the greatest version of myself still technically was the grander goal of being number one, even if I never ended up becoming that. So I had a different, weirder, more esoteric focus rather than one of many ASMR's more direct focus. But in that case, you could still definitely see the egoism in one of my ASMR's and my own philosophies. But still, there's that idea that a suitable, grander, beyond destiny sort of thing played in, but they were there to more so actively choose that suitable destiny. Meanwhile, I sort of just stumble into it by accident. And this is, I think, if I had to guess, before Ego goes into it, if I had to guess what Ego's going to say, as he does praise the play, as he says, I applaud your quick-witted play change. He doesn't mind the idea of changing and bettering oneself for the sake of victory. Heck, we know Yoichi went to that, I need to turn myself into a machine for goals type of mentality. He went for that. But it's the idea of sacrificing opportunity, I think, that Ego's going to get mad at. Because this is what he talks about. It looked like you'd given up on your own goals. What was that about? He's like, I don't mind how you played. Just like you didn't seem to be playing in a way that would allow you to also score. There's that. And then, with that being the case, I don't know where that's going to go from there. Because obviously, people of all different places can score. Goalies can score, defensemen can score, midfielders can score, and obviously strikers and offensive midfielders can score. So anyone can score. So I think that's Hugo's main issue, the idea of dude, you gave up entirely. And even if it wasn't for the idea of being number one, you gave up on the idea of even the possibility of that. And you may have sacrificed potential, may have sacrificed goals, you may have left something on the table by doing that. But let's see. Ooh, man, no more. This is my son! That's my son. Wait. That's my son. That's my baby. That's my baby. That's my baby. I birthed him. For everyone saying Corona's not actually my biological son, don't you notice that this tooth is a little bit longer than this tooth? That's because I birthed him from this tooth. So of course it took a little bit longer to grow in. That's my baby. That's my baby. I'm so happy that he's there. He's not doing anything. He's coded because he got you on. But what I was gonna say, man, the more he's going out of his. He's like, I'm gonna refine these downward angle shots. He's under the chin shots. I'm gonna do it. And to be fair, this one does look really, really good. It's just that it's hard. It's hard. It's just weird. It's a weird angle. Notably, I'm relatively tall. I always joke about being 5 feet tall, but realistically, I am 6'1", 6'2". So but I have run into people taller than me, but notably, I'm always eye level with their chin. For example, someone who is 6'5" next to me, I'm looking at their nose at most, or maybe their lips. I've never been, it's been so long since I've been short enough that I actually look up and see the under angle of somebody's chin. So it's just it's an angle you don't see that often, at least from my perspective. So, but I do know 5 foot people are shorter. so I guess maybe they have a more consistent reference to how that's supposed to look. But the more they're hitting it. They're hitting it. It's just an interesting angle to draw, though. I never draw from that angle. Heck, I got whooped by trying to do the Freeman challenge to draw from that angle, dog. It's rough, but the more they're going for it and they're getting better. If every soccer player tried this play in line with their suitability, in the end, it would be nothing but a competition of physical abilities and tactics. Yeah. in like how things match up. Hold on 1 second. Hold on, sorry. I think it was like real quick. But sorry, if every soccer player tried to play in line with their suitability, in the end it would be nothing but a competition of physical abilities and tactics. And you can definitely argue it is that to some degree, right? Like, and that's how gambling kind of works, right? Like you bet on their physical abilities and their play styles, stuff like that. But we do know, especially in Blue Up, even in real life, soccer is more than that because humans are more than that, right? Like interactivity is weird. Like obviously there are certain scientific phenomena that like work in some favors, work in other favors, and like specifically science is the idea of reproducible phenomena, right? In fact, we even know egoism and Blue Lock is about that, right? Reproducible goals, reproducible goal formulas. But the thing about humanity is that we interact weirdly. And like even the same, like I don't know if you've ever trained anything. I'm not even talking like physically. If you've ever done anything multiple times over, the idea that insanity is the doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, it's not really true. Because if you ever trained anything, you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. When I go to the gym every day, I'm open the same 3 days over and over and over again. When I was training back in the track and field days, I was running the same drills over and over and over again. But guess what? I expected different results, and I got different results, whether that be strength gain, speed gain, and same thing for any sort of intellectual application. Even on something that is more rigorous and mathematical, right? Like learning your times tables. No matter how many times you do 16 times 16 is 144, that's wrong. That's 12 times 12. 16 times 16 is 160. See, look, I'm so out of practice. 15 times 15. Gosh darn it. Why did I go 16 times 16? 12 times 12 is 144. Gosh darn it. I'm dumb. I'm so dumb. 16 times 16, 160, 256. I'm stupid. I'm so sorry about that. Legitimately. No matter how many times you do that, 16 times 16, it'll always be 256. Man, that's bad. I need to go back and study my times tables. But no matter how many times you do that, you're going to get better and better and better and faster and faster and faster at it because it's repetition. You build it into your mind more and more. You know 2 times 2 is 4 because you're almost always doing 2 times 2. You know 3 times 3 is 9. You know 4 times 4 is 16. Like certain things just become more repetition and your brain starts to answer for you. It's that idea of instinct. And taking information and sort of drilling it into your head and reproducing it over and over and over again. So you are getting the same result, but you're getting that result faster instead of you doing the same thing. And that's the whole idea of those extra uncertain principles that come within things like soccer or any sort of competitive thing, where you can do the same thing. You can have all the same stats, but then someone can just be feeling either amazing that day or worse that day. Someone can have a new sort of chemical reaction with somebody else. There's so many more variables than just stats and tactics. Especially because, we aren't computer simulations, we're people. Let's say France is a multi-ethnic country with a broadly welcoming culture. Is it? I wonder if that's... I don't know. I've been to France, but is it? I guess I haven't really looked at that side of it, though. I'll have to look about that. Because, I know France is one of the colonial things. We'll have to see. But let me see. The variety of talents. Well, let's even reference the soccer world. Let's see. The variety of talents produced there leads to a diversity of soccer techniques and makes it easier for suitable talents for every position to be born. Okay. So yeah, it's the and to be fair, we have seen that on France so far, right? We've seen a bunch of different people with a bunch of different backgrounds on France. Heck, look at Loki and Hugo and Charles. They all seem they're all from the same place. They all play for the same national team, but they all seem fundamentally different in terms of their origins and backgrounds. But that makes sense, right? You do have that consistent level of variation, and the more variation you have, typically the better. It's the idea of like genetic variation and why you always need that, and don't do anything with your family because that's bad. Like literally, it's scientifically proven to be bad because you need genetic variation and stuff like that. Let's see. Chigiri, Bachira, Kagamaru, are you all right? Let's see. Makes it easier for suitable talents to be for every position to be born. So, if France assembles an outstanding team of players handpicked for their suitable talents, do you think Japan has any chance of winning, even if they do the same thing? I guess if you're going See, this is funny enough. I've seen a lot of people, including one of my ASMR, but I've seen a lot of people be like, Hugo is a big word that ends with a shist and starts with a father's son Kamehameha. So, I will readily say that it does go a little bit into that. Let's see. The answer is no. Telling people to live suitably or to be happy with your position in life is how the strong get the weak to stop thinking so they can control their possibilities. And that's exactly how I view it. And that's how a lot of them like, and that's why Hugo gets called what he gets called by a lot of people. Because it is like that's insane. Like, it's insane and it's not true. Right? Like, specifically as I've given some of the community, some of the community, they seem to be, I'm not saying they bouncing doing tricks on him. Loki bouncing doing tricks on Hugo's knee right now. But regardless, I'll give some of the community this. In specifically kind of sort of the soccer context, yeah, I get it. In sort of sports context. But even then, think about it. The greatest shooter of all time. Steph. No. You know. But regardless, the guy with, the guy's relatively short for NBA standards. Not like actually short at all. The guy's what, 6'3", 6'4"? But regardless, technically, if he lived by his suitable destiny, he wouldn't do that. He wouldn't even be on the court, probably. He'd barely be there. He'd be doing something completely different. And obviously, we've gone down this rabbit hole before. Think of half more. Think of humanity. And think of how many things just wouldn't exist if people lived by what was suitable. It just doesn't work. Whole nations wouldn't exist. I wouldn't exist. You would not. Like, literally, I am almost entirely confident in saying if all people live by a quote-unquote suitable destiny for the time that they existed, we as a like every single person living now would not exist. Like, it wouldn't like, we wouldn't exist. So forget like all the inventions and the infrastructure and the technology that all exists because people went beyond what was suitable for them. You, me, and everyone else wouldn't exist. Let's see. Yay! We don't need to force ourselves. I'm good just as I am. And like, and I've seen some people, especially whatever, I've seen other people in my subreddit, they kind of put like, yeah, you shouldn't do that. It's kind of bad. People are like, well, what if people are just happy as they are? That's fine. That's okay. I don't think everyone should do that. I don't think everyone should just be happy as they are. And even like I always say, I'm mostly satisfied with where I am. Still want more though. Out of me, and like notably not just in like a grander, like I want more, but like I want more out of me, my own potential and that stuff. And I talk of the rest of the grander scale of the world. Like ultimately, I do want people to keep pushing the limits and evolving and going beyond what would be suitable for them because I think that's best for humanity. So yeah, I just like unfortunately there's no real universe where I'm like, yeah, suitable destiny sounds legit for humanity. No, it is very cyst. Father, son, Kamehameha. Let's see. We are weak. If we lived suitably, we could never change the world. Once again, that does sound a little bit what I just said, but like, I get what Hugo means, like the general sense, not in the freaky like we need to talk about like genetics and stuff. Let's see. In fact, if anything, I don't know. It's interesting. Let's see. That's why I told all of you to be. Interesting. Hold on. Let me see. That's why I told all of you to be strikers. This philosophy of going beyond suitability is the heart of Blue Lock. I mean, there it is. That's strikers in the sense of always shoot for your own goal, but I think there still is the idea of the philosophy of going beyond suitability, right? Because even Ego has people in different. He doesn't have everyone in the striker role. He does have defenders. He does have midfielders. He does have a goalie, right? And he even said, this is the best place for you to be based on what I've assigned to you. So like, even he knows the location. Not everyone can legitimately be a striker, but everyone should be hungry and feeding for their own goals. Let's see. Imagine that you could live 100 times. How many of those times could you become the world's best striker? Rayo, Kagamaru, Aiku. Let's see. If I were to make an incredibly optimistic and miraculously high evaluation, I'd say this was drawn smaller and then zoomed in on. I am almost like this almost looks Loki like this, not in the good art style way, like that. This looks off-putting in the way this is. I think he drew it in one layer, then he ported it over to this. Like he shifted the layers. Like, oh, this is too small. Let's see. One time, an egotist lives for that one chance. It would have never happened if they'd known their place. And that is true. And I do, and it like, and notably, I still struggle with this, right? As much as I'm all for it, be the best you, do the best you can. You can do this. You feel great. You can win this. I still struggle with the idea of like sometimes you just gotta, like you gotta man shoot a shot, do what, because I think the big thing, because of like society and pressures and culture and stuff like that, it is sometimes hard to shoot that shot, to ask those questions, to do those things. And I'm talking all walks of life. Obviously, I'm speaking from like a shoot your shot, somebody you're attracted to kind of sense, because there's a variety of things. But even that aside, like in a professional world, you won't go anywhere unless you ask, or unless you do, unless you be. And that's the same case for the physical world. That's the same case for any profession, like just life. If you stay nestled in your own little point, you'll be able to make it. Hopefully, sometimes people who stay in their own little point get fired and struggle to make it. But like still, most of the time you can still do good. But if you ever want to be better, if you ever want to do more, you can't. You almost can never stay in the same place. There's some like dream places where just existing for long enough will get you to a certain higher point, and then a higher point, and then a higher point, and then a higher point, and boom, you're top. But I still do believe you do need to have that base core fundamental willingness to be like, yeah, I have this current place in the world. It's not enough. I want more. And that's what he was talking about. Let's see. Interesting. So Usagi shuddered. It looks like Kurosa's being talking back. Let's see. But can't deny that our current approach ain't working. And that is true, right? What Kurosa, and to be fair, I'm gonna put it on Ego here. Because he says, I told all of you to be strikers. He's not necessarily explaining egoism here in the way that I've interpreted his belief in egoism, just by like reading the narrative from a top-down view and actually being involved in it. He's still putting this emphasis on strikers, which is the same mistaken emphasis that I think Isagi put on last chapter. And which is why I think allowed Kurosa to so easily win the argument that he had against Isagi, because Isagi wasn't able to formulate it properly. But the egoism idea at its core, that is the truest foundation of Blue Lock. I think that needs to be the core focus that Ego needs to actually sit down and properly explain to people. Or maybe my interpretation of egoism is just wrong. But I still think, even with what Ego says here, it's right, but it's by a certain, once again, Ego's almost expecting them to do a little too much thinking, which is fine. Let's say, right, if you want something new, first you need to let go of something old. And I literally just talk about that, right? The only way you can move, and it is rough and tough, right? Like, I'll admit, every time I've started a new job, it's been like, it doesn't matter how much expertise or practice or talent I've had in a very similar or lower role or anything like that. Man, start new. It'll have you bamboozled for months sometimes. I remember one job, I was lost for like a whole year. I was getting what I needed to get done, but I was still confused. But in order to get to that position where I had to let go of the old and move to the new. Let's see. We're dropping our Yoichi Sagi-centered strategy. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Let me take a sip. I know that was way more than a sip. Don't judge me. Let's see. We're dropping. Here's the formation we'll use to fight back in the second half. Usagi, Yoichi, this guy. They gonna sit you down? But nah, they would never. Let's see. Isagi, Ren, Hiyori, Karasu. Ooh, and I do like that. You know, the two egoist duos versus the two suitable SE duos. I like it. Let's see. Oh. Yo, hold on. Why the he may be a smooth top, but the beard is immaculate. The suit is freshly pressed. He's him. Hold on. Team France locker room. All right. Have all these characters who won't matter, and then 3 actual main characters. Hugo, who's reading. He just does that. He does that a lot now I think about it. Loki, chillin'. Charles, standing insipid. Let's see. You guys are the strongest generation. Your gods, once in a century chosen ones. Now, under normal circumstances, I would teleport into the manga, grab this man by the shoulder, hit him with the Vegeta pose, point at myself, and be like, okay, not the Vegeta pose. I don't know what the meme is called, but it's like the meme where the one guy's saying to one side and the other guy's like the person in the foreground is like facing away from the camera, and then the one guy's grabbing the other guy on the shoulder. The guy in the foreground on the shoulder, just smiling at him. I am with that. It's not the Vegeta pose. I have no idea why Vegeta came up, but I'd be like, how about tip? However, France has just proven to be monstrous, and I see why these guys glaze into the moon, because, like, sure, they let a goal go, but still, they're cooking. Let's see. Your gods, once in a generation, century chosen ones. Wait, what's this guy's name? Rodin. First the beard hard, then the suit hard, then the name hard. Shoot! What? Let me stop. You won't just change France's history. This incredible collection of talent will change all of soccer forever. I mean, like, if Hugo's goal is met, technically he is right. But you know what, though? I look how Loki's engaged, even Hugo's slightly engaged. Charles could not care. Charles is spending all the evidence. He's like, man, you need to hop on my hop off. Let's see. Your France's new Le Bleu. Let's go make history. All right, so I mean, I guess he doesn't really need to change formation, because right now technically they've been working, right? So he's glazing them, he's getting them hyped up for the second. Dude, tuck your shirt in, dog. What is this? Well, to be fair, I'm not sure if that's maybe a thing. Does Ego have his shirt tucked in? Yeah, Ego's fully vested up. Dude, tuck your shirt in. That aside, like, and get a tie that doesn't end bluntly. What is that? But that aside, I get why he's just hyping and glazing right now. Technically, everything they've been doing has worked. Let's see. What is that guy? What is homeboy saying? Okay, that's it. I was like, what are you? I'm like, Brody, what are you saying? Let's see. All right. Up, Loki. Loki, are you good, brother? To be fair, he's not sweating at all, but none of them are right now. So let's see. Hey, Charles, give me more line-breaking passes this half. Oh, so wait, Loki, have you been trying, but you just haven't scored? What? If this ends without me scoring, the Earth will be sad, right? Yeah. And to be fair, this is something, and I'll readily admit this, it can be pulled from what we've seen of Loki so far in the narrative, but I do think his character profile, that I believe came out with his volume, I think it does lay it out better, and maybe we'll see it more in the second half. Loki specifically has this immense satisfaction with looking down on others and seeing others fall into despair, right? Like that is his joy, which is very similar to what we saw Yoichi. If you remember when he saw Nico crying and he was like, you know, this feeling. He started tweeting at that. And Loki is very similar to that. He loves to see others look at him as a divinity, right? He's Loki, god of speed, but like he's Loki. He likes being viewed as a deity. To think that the Earth's mood itself, obviously he's talking like the world and the people watching, but the Earth itself would be sad if he fails to score. That is a little bit crazy. But at the same time, I think you do need, like, this is gonna sound insane, but hey, it is about insanity. I think you do need to be a little bit insane. Like, do not be Cell Saga Vegeta, but maybe be Namek Saga Vegeta. Actually, not being Namek Saga Vegeta specifically in regards to how we reacted to the Ginyu Force showing. As in, believe your hype. Understand your hype. And even if your hype doesn't exist, manifest it. And then make it a reality. That's sort of like almost like it does sound crazy to think like that, but sometimes you need to be a little bit vocal. Like sometimes you just do need to do that. And I got a little bit of that loco coco in me too, dog. I always think of it like this, like if I don't create, if I don't do, like it feels bad. And to be fair, I do have like direct concrete evidence. People being worried whenever I'm gone and I don't let people know, and I do feel bad. One thing I will really admit, I do not get fully how YouTubers are just, or content creators in general, just able to like fully disappear on the face of the earth for an extended period of time. Whenever I do that, it's usually because I don't have access to something or something went wrong in life. But like, man, some people just hardly disappear. But it is part of that. It is part of that own delusional self-hype cycle, and I don't blame Loki for that. Though, obviously, presumably, he will be humbled eventually. Let's see. Huh? Feeling frustrated, Loki-chan? We were doing so good. We were doing so good without an emoji. He had time to finally cool down, so he dropped another one. No, alright, let's see. Interesting then he says Loki-chan. Well, maybe it's just mocking him. Let's see. Oh, feeling frustrated, Loki-chan? Okie dokie. I'll give you some nasty ones. That's me. I'm the problem. I'm the problem. It's me, bro. Like, initially, I was gonna make one type of joke, but then my brain, which was up here, it went straight to the gutters, bro. It was like just think about that line out of context. Like, imagine you're just walking down the street and you hear someone on the phone and then go, "Oh, feeling frustrated, Loki-chan? Okie dokie. I'll give you some nasty ones." Is it me? Am I the problem? I'm probably the problem. But all right, let's see. Loki better scoring. Let's see. Whoa! I always knew the guy was huge. I didn't know he was that huge. Shit, he makes look. How tall is Loki? I know we have Loki stats. Hold up. Loki, Julianne. Whoa. Loki, Julianne. I should put Julian Loki. What was I doing? Let me see. Oh, he's 5'10"? He's only 1 inch taller than Isagi? Why does that never hit for me? Huh. But still, Hugo's got to be like a smooth like 6'5" or something. To be towering over someone who's 5'10" like that, like that's a whole like darn near head there, and he's leaning over. I know they're leaned over too, but darn. Yeah, Hugo's humongous. Jeez, man. Let's see. It's okay, Loki. I doubt this match will end like this. Charles is like, bro, get off me. You know what though? Admittedly, I'm a guy who always communicates like affection and or care through physical contact. Like I'm a guy to dap you up, pick you up if you're small enough, or even if you're large enough. My dream goal is to be able to pick up even my heaviest homeboy. He's like 260. So like, why ever be able to just run up and scoop up like this? One day I will be strong enough, but right now it's not possible. But like, if you like if you smooth like 150 or lighter, barbecue chicken, bro. So like, I do show affection that way too. But I have a friend like Charles who's like, if you don't get off me, and I specifically don't do because he doesn't like it. Everyone else is mostly okay with it though. Hugo not getting a last name is still crazy. Somebody Hugo, get a last name, brother. It's been long enough. Let's see. I doubt the match will end like this. Hey, get off me. It'll get messy. It seems that Blue Lock has chosen that destiny. Yeah! Is that Koriga? Well, butter my behind and call me. Wait a minute, what? Chigiri! Well, to be fair, Chigiri's had a stamina issue. Nico also always gets subbed out from getting tired. And Bachira getting subbed out? What kind of what? Alright, let's see. Yo, Bushido Big. It's actually crazy. Have we ever seen him in just this uniform? Is this our first time seeing? I think this is our first time. We've seen Baro in the Yutoi Japan uniform. I think this is our first time actually seeing Shido. Huh, that's crazy to think about. Well, no, we saw him in a different uniform. This is his first time in his Blue Lock Japan uniform. U20 Japan membership. Look at Ball straight Oriform, bro. You do not, brother, you do not need to, he's in the, have I ever done that? I don't think I've ever bit bandages or articles of clothing, dog. But hey, anything for Aura. Ryusei Shido. My cells are screaming. That's not Shido's voice. Hold on, let me see. My cells are screaming. Time to hunt. Baro. Yo, Baro and Shido's gonna be so crazy, dog. Let's see. Quit drooling, you beast. Ooh, okay, talk. All right, let me see this set real quick. Bachira out, Nico out, Chigiri out. Okay, so Rin. All right. So we have OMF, Isagi. Oh lord, he's never beaten the allegations. And then I'm assuming, I'm not sure. I don't know anything about soccer, bro. 4, 2, 1, 3. Who's the one? Oh wait, no. 4, 2, 1, 3. 4, 2, 1, 3. Okay. So, okay, so we have Kunigami. Okay, so Kunigami is presumably going to lock somebody down. They're probably going to throw him on Hugo. Why not? Man, if Hugo's been harassing people, let Kunigami harass Hugo. But, all right. So, still the 4 is the defensive line. 2 is defensive midfielders. So, yeah. Yeah, Isagi, man, the midfielder allegations are never escaping you. But, he's clearly playing midfielder now. Offensive midfielder, though, so he can still score. But then we have these 3 as the front line. I'm not sure. Are they called wings? I don't. Someone tell me what Barnes should. I don't think that they're not. It's not 3 strikers, right? Am I stupid? Is it 3 strikers? I don't know. What is it? 3 forwards. 3 forwards. 1 striker. I'm assuming Rin is a striker, and the other 2 are forwards. I think that's it. But hey, you know what? A lot of people, myself included, were calling for some hyper offense. Dog, I literally, genuinely, unless you swapped out like Aiku and Ryu for who Yuki Miya and like. Yeah, I don't know how you get more offensive than this. I'm very interested to see how this is gonna go. Especially considering, like, have these 2 ever worked together? I mean, I guess the whole idea is that France has been data farming them. So since this combination has never been tried out before, heck, Shido never even there's no with Rin, but even then he barely did anything with Rin. So this is an unexpected combo. So I guess since the data farm has been working so well, I'm gonna go wild. Let's see. An all-out offense formation. The strategy centered around me was obliterated. There's someone clearly more talented and with a bigger dream than me, more talented and a bigger dreamer than me, standing right there. And he's just bigger. Hugo is huge. Like, his head, JD looks a bit undersized sometimes. He is huge. Huge. Maybe like, Pencilman, aren't you huge? Yes! But I'm not like Hugo's gotta be a smooth 6'5", bro. He's massive. Let's see. Standing right there. This is the worst. Roll credits. I mean, here's what I'm saying in the temper. This is the worst possible situation. Even Hugo. Hugo. He's not talking. He's not harassing. He's like, yeah. Let's see. So then, why do I feel so excited? It's that challenge, bro. Some about challenges gets the blood pumping. It's like something needs to be stuck in the veins, bro. I get it. He's like, yeah, I get it. Let's see. So then, why do I feel so excited? Surpass Hugo. That's what my ego is screaming. It's time for the second half kickoff. Second half kickoff. Interesting, though. Isagi is just regular, no flow eyes, but Hugo's gear eyes popping up. I always thought that was his metavision. Maybe it is. I don't know. All right. But I'll readily admit. Darn, I've been for a minute. Come here. Ooh, that was weak. Hold on. We're going to redo that. That was a little bit weak. WWW chapter. I do say so myself. You can butter. Okay, let's stop saying that. Now you can butter my behind and call me a biscuit. I'm shocked. That was some gas. And it was just yapping. But I do like it, though. I do like this chapter a lot. Specifically for what it does. It shows both sides of the world, quote unquote, in terms of like everything. Like the duality between those who believe in Isagi and those who don't. The duality between Japan and France as nations and what they do as nations in terms of their football philosophy. Very specifically, the 2 sides of the world and Karasu's idea of what's not working and how to deal with it versus Ego's idea of what's not working and how to deal with it. And even the 2 sides of how each coach treats them, right? Due to their different situations. France is up. They seem to be doing good. So what does France's coach do? Glaze them, slop them off, and keep pushing. Meanwhile, Ego's like, yeah, you're almost about to fumble the bag. Let's not fumble the bag, and let's not do what I told you explicitly not to do. Let's work in and lock in to do this best we can in order to use this formation for the second half, and to see specifically the idea of France's heavy cognition and focus on balance and proper execution with extremely powerful monsters like Charles, Loki, and Hugo. We have the hyper offense of Japan fully dedicating to the idea of the strongest striker by any means necessary, all putting in the wild card. So overall, I'm very, very excited to see what's going to go down. So, if you're only viewing this video, please do me a favor and leave burning up inside. I don't know why. It just come to mind. Burning up inside in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure that link to notifications post you up as hell on any videos that come to the channel. Also, you're going to have a page down below where you support me for as low as $1 a month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the live reactions, every other Tuesday to review, ad variations of all my videos, early ad free access to all my videos, early ad free access to not just all my videos on the main channel, but all my videos on the second channel that got the reaction. Link in the description down below, and also in the upper right hand corner of the video. And on top of that, I do have the fact that if you are a patron or a member, $3 member or $3 patron or higher, you get your name listed and read aloud at the end of every single video on both channels. And there's my Twitch link down below. I got the control every Friday at 8 p.m. Tizzle. Feel free to roll through. We have a fun time. We chat. We yap. And on top of that, I do have my Ko-Fi down below. You want to drop 5 music or a short video, which I feel like I should clarify what short video means. Short video basically means any of my thoughts videos, those 15-minute videos. That's what a short video is. And 25 means for a long video. It's anything like this length or longer, right? That's basically what a short video versus a long video is. That is linked down below as well. But now I want to thank you so much for watching, and hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is that guy with the pencil, writing off. Alright, lady, thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Redwolf 4765, Astro, Glacier XZ, Zera, J2MA, Bura Ura, Yuki Ally, Grim, Ollie, The Boy, Corey Watson, Damon Brown, Dino, Tim Thomas, Kaving, OrXN, Logan Guzman, Dead Meme, Keon Stewart, Donovan McIntosh, BNA DNA, Edwin Ingbi Straw, Antavius Mitchell, Superflame Zero, Weary Exile, Window Life, Alex Kenny, Todd, The Practical One, Landon Clapwick, Heath Nelson, CAET, Jagoda, Plant Crone, Striker Man, Brendan Payne, Black Sage, Multi Batman Superman, Zalims, Joe B, Sleepin' John, The Young Family Pastel Pandora, Mo City King, DKG, Andream Bonet, Akolade Babatunde, Romano Furin, Sky XT, Victor Jacobs, Axis XC, Osin Tabwit BDM, Kingly, at JDog2656, Union Eye, Marisol Boyd, Funny Dude, Benzi Shear, Magic, Sino King, Sheesh King, Aswin Hedi Placetia, JMB KD, and CCC. Then, let's give a thank you to our line art tier patrons: Red Zoen, Corina Hernandez, Kevin Encarnacion, Lil Kodo, Midnight Lord 21, and Sean. Then, let's give a thank you to our ink tier member, Shrimpo the 4th Shrimp 06. Then, let's give a thank you to our digital art tier members, J Warrior and AZ Void. And I'd like to give a final thank you to our colored art tier patrons, Walking Minows, and Ernesto 430.